If you were told that you only had 2 days left to live, how would that impact your life? That's kind of difficult to answer, isn't it? You know how it would make you feel, right? You'd be scared. You'd be worried about your family. You'd be contemplating how life wasn't fair and you didn't get to do all the things you really wanted to do. You kind of expected to live a lot longer, right? Reach old age, collect retirement, have a nice, humble little home, have your children, your grandchildren come and visit you. But, this is actually real news for a lot of people. So, what if you were told that you only had 2 days left to live your life? Would you spend it in sorrow and tears, telling people that you do love them, making things right? How would you make those 2 days count for all that they're worth? That's the real question here. I mean, the reason why it needs to be asked is because, first of all, I'm not so sure that there's too many of us that live life for all that it's worth now. And yet we don't even know if we have 2 days left, right? We don't even know that much. And yet we do very little to improve our standing within our circumstances as it is now. If you doubt that, take a look around you. Go anywhere. What are people doing? Their noses are attached to the screen. They're living in a different reality. They're living in a virtual world, watching other people do what they're doing. And while they're watching people do what they're doing, the people they're watching are watching other people do what they're doing. They're not living in the present. They're not living the present at all. And this is kind of scary if you think about it. I think this has always been a problem for man. I say man, I mean mankind, for humanity. It's always been a problem. But I think it's a very large problem now, greater and more magnified than it ever has been before. Because not only do we not know how to live in the present now, we don't even know what now is anymore. And we're being spoon fed what reality is for everybody else, comparing our circumstances to everyone else. And it leaves us feeling entitled. It leaves us feeling unhappy, worried, scared, and just miserable all the way around. I really do believe that. I'm not just saying that to make a video. I really do believe that. I can't count on one hand that many people that I think are definitionally happy because they're not living in the present. And that could go for me at any time. You see, living in the present is, I think, one of the essential ingredients or components, should I say, for being happy. Well, even if being happy wasn't possible, I think it's I think it's essential just for living, experiencing any kind of fulfillment, for even having any kind of sense of what reality is. But that's not where people are. Where I get this is from a book that I read. It's not a self help book, it's not a psychology book. It's actually a book written by Ernest Hemingway. It's a very manly book because it turns out to be a quite graphic, violent book. It's right up my alley. I love it. It was written in 1940. It was about a young man named Robert Jordan. It's not true, of course, but it's about a young man named Robert Jordan, an American who was attached to a Republican guerrilla unit, and his job during the Spanish Civil War was to dynamite a bridge during the attack on Segovia. As you can imagine, any kind of wartime story would be is that it's perilous, it's dangerous. There's certainly no guarantee of the future. Your life could be taken away from you any moment. And what's worse than if it was taken away from you is if you were captive and tortured and subjected to brutalities that were actually delineated in the book. And so Robert Jordan had plenty of time to contemplate this, and there were many discussions in the book with the other characters, and one of them being a young lady named Maria. Um, and one of the things that was said in the book, I'm gonna quote it here for you. It stuck out to me more than anything else. Robert Jordan was talking to Maria, and here's what he said. He said, "You have it now, and that is all your whole life is. Now. There is nothing else than now. There is neither yesterday, certainly, nor is there any tomorrow. How old must you be before you know that? There's only now, And if now is only 2 days, then 2 days is your life, and everything in it will be in proportion. This is how you live a life in 2 days. And if you stop complaining and asking for what you will never get, you will have a good life. A good life is never measured by any biblical span. That stuck out to me so deeply in that book that I never forgot it. And so, what I would challenge you to do is ask yourself, if you only had 2 days left to live, how would you live it? You would live it by being in the here and now. All of a sudden, all the things that are most important would come to the surface of your mind. That's why you would call the people that you love and tell them that you love them. That's why you would try to make crooked ways straight. That's why you would do everything you would do during that time. What would happen in 5 years wouldn't even be a thought. What happened in the past would be forgotten about very quickly, because you'd be asking, how can I make every moment count? We oftentimes hear people tell us we should be living in the present, but people are so not in the present that they have a hard time struggling with what reality even is anymore. They're so attached to their screens, watching everyone else, feeling entitled, feeling scared, feeling worried, miserable, hungry for something that they'll never get because they always want, and they can never get enough. Because as soon as they have what they want, they just want something else because they've seen it. They've seen other people get something they don't have. Without ever stopping to count their blessings, to take stock of what they have, to really take inventory and be thankful for the fact that they have their health, that they have time, that they have awareness of even being at all. There are a few people that have had something to say about this. I'm going to tell you what they said. There was a man named Ken Keyes Jr. that said one time, people who postpone happiness are like children who try chasing rainbows in an effort to find the pot of gold at the rainbow's end. Your life will never be fulfilled until you are happy here and now. You see, it's a decision not only to be happy, but it's a decision to deliberately live in the here and now. But you don't get it by chasing something off in the distance. You do it by grasping what you actually have in front of you. Have you ever stopped to do that? Have you ever stopped to think about reality for you at this very moment? You're not somewhere else. You are where you are. You're doing what you're doing. You know, people, I've said it before in another video, but people are worried about their health in the future. But you don't have cancer until you do. So why do you think about it? You're not dying until you are. You haven't lost your job until you have. But that's not even happening right now. Well, for some of you, it might be. That might be your reality. Then the whole schematics just change, don't they? But that's what you're dealing with. So very rarely do people ever deal with what they actually have in front of them, that their whole life just passes them by. There's someone that had something to say about that too. Let me share it with you. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'll put it on the screen. Here's what he said. In order to be utterly happy, the only thing necessary is to refrain from comparing this moment with other moments in the past, which I often did not fully enjoy because I was comparing them with other moments of the future. Can you relate to that? Yes, you can. Certainly, everyone can. How many times have you talked about the good old days? And then, in the same breath, if you're truly honest with the person you're having this discussion with, you'll say to yourself, well, someday we'll say these were the good old days. But you're not thinking about them like that now. And the reason why you think the good old days were so good is because as you're remembering a particular moment in time, that's all it is. You're not actually in your head. You're not actually in the head that you had back during those times. You might recall a certain event that you went to, a certain relationship that you had that made you feel really good. And you hearken back to that and you think, those were the good old days. That was when I was happy. But the truth is, even back then, you were busy regretting the past and worrying about the future. and you're still doing it now. And the whole time, your life is just escaping you. I ask you what you would do or how it would impact you if you told your life was going to end in 2 days. But most of you, some of you, won't even get 2 days worth of life in your whole entire lifetime because you never lived in the present. You're always looking back or always looking forward, and you're never taking stock of what you have. Some people do accomplish that. And for that, I applaud them. And it's a goal of mine. Have I arrived? No, certainly not. I can't say that I have. I can't say that I have, but I work on it. I work on it because I write a lot of this stuff down, and then I go back over time and I look at my notes and I look at what I've jotted down, and I say, I got to think about that. I got to work on that. But that's why I bring them to you. That's why I talk to you about them. Because it's good to have these reminders. It's not something that we don't know. It's something that we do know. But we need to be prodded. We need to be pushed. We need to be challenged to think about these things. Robert Louis Stevenson. Surely you remember him. He wrote Treasure Island, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A few other good books. He was such a good writer. I respect him a lot. I read a biography on him. He's certainly noteworthy. Here's what he said. He said the best things are nearest. Breath in your nostrils, light in your eyes, flowers at your feet, duties at your hand, the path of God just before you. Then do not grasp at the stars, but do life's plain, common work as it comes, certain that daily duties and daily bread are the sweetest things of life. I would venture to say there's many of you that hearing that would probably immediately disagree with that. You're not going to be happy until you get that boat in your yard, right? You're not going to be happy until you get that new home. You're not going to be happy until you get that raise or until you see that your children have made something of themselves. Isn't that correct? You're never quite happy until you get that clean bill of health back from the doctor, and there's nothing like waiting for that, right? Especially the older you get. Until you know that you got everything paid off, until you've got assurance that your life is going to be on easy street. So you think, no, I'm not going to buy that. You know, this is not a balm or an ointment for my anguish, but it is. It really is. Stop and think about what you actually have right here, right now. Stop looking back. You can't do anything. You know, you might have pain or angst about how you've hurt someone in the past. Not just about how someone's hurt you, but maybe you legitimately hurt someone else. Did you know that you can't do anything about that? I mean, you can go ask for forgiveness. You can try to make things right, but you can't guarantee that you'll be accepted. You can be miserable the rest of your life. You can't do anything about it. All you can do is what you can do right now. All you can control is what you're thinking about right now. Stop thinking about those good old days. They were never as good as what you'd like to think. Those memories, those good memories that you're thinking of, they were never as good as what you recall. Never. You can't trust your memory. Study the brain. You'll find that out real quick. Your memories are so unreliable. And as far as forecasting the future, you don't have any idea. And mark my words, the future generally isn't as bleak as you think. And even if it was, you couldn't do anything to change it. And chances are you will handle things much differently if they do happen anyway. You'll be much stronger, and you will spend your whole life worried about whether you could even stand up to it or not. I hope that you'll take the time to live every day deliberately, just in the moment, looking around you right now and just seeing what you have in the very room that you're sitting in. You know, as you're driving down the road, just see what's actually in front of you at the very moment. Enjoy the discussions you have with people in the very moment. Stop thinking about where it's going. Stop thinking about where they've been. And grasp life. Live it for all it's worth by living in the moment. That's what you do. That's how you live a life in 2 days. Well, guys, I'm starting to lose my voice. I've talked so much this morning that I think I've talked too much. I hope you've gotten something out of it. If you have, share it with someone else. These are the treasures of life. And I hope that you won't forget them. If you appreciate this material, if you appreciate what you heard today, and you want to consider donating to this endeavor of mine to try to bring some kind of light and optimism to people's lives, consider donating. There's a PayPal link. You don't have to, but I will give you honorable mention, and I'll be so grateful for that. And also check out my link for any other scripts below. I don't know what I'll put in there, but if you like my beard, I'll put in links for products in there too. But let's not forget the main thing here: live in the moment. Live as if not only you have 2 days, but maybe 2 days, but maybe you only have today. Maybe you only have today. That's how you live your life. Thank you.